Hi, you're listening to a personal story. Her bag vibrated. We were at her aunt's funeral. 3 people spoke at the podium. The organist kept hitting wrong notes. I sat next to her, holding her hand until she pulled it away to check the time. But it wasn't her phone buzzing in her pocket, it was his. I knew that laugh. I'd heard it once in our garage when she said she was on a work call. It was too bold, too unfamiliar. She quickly shut her purse like she was locking away a secret. She glanced at me, panic flashing before she masked it with practiced calm. I didn't need to say anything. My gut already understood what my mind refused to accept. Later that night, she sat on our bed, folding laundry, humming softly. I asked, "Whose phone was that?" She blinked as if confused by the question. When I asked again, she said, "It's nothing." Then came the words etched into me like a permanent mark. "Maybe we should take a break." That's how she said it, flat, emotionless, like ordering coffee. A break. After I worked overtime for her dreams, sold my car for her courses, missed family events for her moods, she wanted space. Something snapped in me. I smiled and said, "No, we should end this." She laughed at first, then froze when she saw I meant it. "Are you serious?" she asked. I nodded, my voice trembling as I told her to pack her things, and not to forget her other phone. I slept on the couch. She stayed awake all night. By morning, her bag was gone. But what she left behind weighed heavier than anything she took. The house felt different after she left. Not quieter, just heavier, like it was bracing itself. I avoided her side of the bed. Her mug sat on the counter, half filled with cinnamon tea. I couldn't bring myself to empty it. It felt like erasing a memory still lingering in the air. I told myself I'd done the right thing, that I was stronger for saying what I did. But every time I passed the closet, the swaying empty hangers seemed to ache more than I cared to admit. 2 days later, I went into the bedroom to grab an old shirt. I hadn't been back since she left, and I wasn't looking for anything. Out of habit, I opened the sock drawer, and there it was. A folded pink note tucked under her tights. At first, I thought it was a receipt or one of her silly motivational quotes. But no, it was a letter. Fresh ink. I still think about our night at the lake. The way you looked at me, no one ever has. It left me breathless. I sank to the floor, that pink paper cutting deeper than any blade. If I leave him, it won't be for the arguments or the growing distance. It'll be because with you, I feel alive. I read it 3 times, hands trembling. There was no name, but I knew it wasn't addressed to me. She never wrote like that for me, never said those words. That night by the lake replayed in my mind. I hadn't been near water in 2 years. No tears came, no screams either. Just silence and numbness as hours slipped away unnoticed. Eventually, I found myself searching through every drawer she'd ever touched. What I discovered next broke whatever denial I clung to. A burner phone hidden inside a hollowed-out book she'd never opened. Dead battery, no SIM card. This wasn't spontaneous. It was calculated, a strategy, as if I were an obstacle to outwit. Yet, despite everything, I missed her. I hated myself for it. Hated how she took parts of me without permission, leaving me unsure how to piece myself back together. That night, sleep eluded me. I sat on the porch, gripping the letter in one hand and the hollow book in the other. The identity of the man remained unknown, but not for long. Everything would change once I uncovered the truth. I stared at the phone for hours before touching it. Its cheap plastic casing weighed heavy in my palm, carrying secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to face. I needed a charger. At the store, I fumbled through explanations to a teenager working the counter. "Old school, huh?" he joked when I lied about needing it for a backup. His smile didn't reach me. Back home, I plugged it in. The screen flickered to life. 1%, then 2%. No password protected it, no lock screen guarding its contents. Empty contact lists and galleries greeted me, but the call log told a story. One number stood out, the last outgoing call made just yesterday. My chest tightened as I pressed dial. The line rang twice before a man answered, casual and confident. "Hey, Allura, you're early." Silence stretched between us until his tone shifted cautiously. "Hello?" I ended the call, heart pounding wildly. He knew her name, expected her. His calmness unsettled me, not guilty, but victorious. For 10 minutes, I stared at my reflection in the dark TV screen, debating whether to call again. Instead, I opened the messages. Only one remained undeleted. Unknown, still on for Friday, same hotel. That single line spoke volumes. It revealed everything I needed to understand. She hadn't gone to her aunt's funeral for me, nor had she needed space. What she really needed was time. Time to organize her escape, to ensure her plan unfolded without a hitch. Time to replace me with someone else, while I remained too weary, too soft, and too trusting to see it coming. And yet, what sickened me most was that part of me still wanted to believe it wasn't true, that maybe she was just confused, afraid, or broken in a way I could mend. I loathed how easily I was ready to forgive someone who hadn't even tried to lie convincingly. I charged the phone fully, took screenshots of every message and call log, and backed everything up. Then I returned it to its hiding place inside the hollow book and slid it back into the drawer. I had a plan now. If she thought I'd let this slide quietly, she was wrong. 3 days after the call, she returned. No warning, no message, just the sound of her key turning in the lock as if she still belonged. I was in the kitchen, eating reheated spaghetti straight from the pot. I didn't pretend to be surprised. She walked in, set her purse down, and gave me a quick look, like she was gauging my reaction, hoping I'd either be sobbing or gone. Instead, I said, "Want some?" and gestured toward the food. She hesitated, clearly thrown by my calm demeanor, then shook her head. I already ate. Of course she had. She went upstairs as if nothing were amiss, as if we were still together, as if she hadn't shattered me before leaving. I heard drawers opening, the shower running, her humming while I sat there wondering how many times she'd told him she needed space while wearing my old hoodie. Part of me wanted to scream, to hurl accusations and confront her with the truth, but I didn't. Screaming would give her closure, something to fight against, and I refused to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I did something far worse. I acted as though nothing had changed. That night, we lay in the same bed, her turned away, me staring at the ceiling, pretending to scroll through my phone while watching her reflection in the dark TV screen. She didn't touch me. I didn't try. She thought she still held the upper hand. The next day, I waited for her to leave for work, a strategy meeting, she called it. Then I made copies of the letter, the burner phone screenshots, and an additional piece of evidence I'd been sitting on for weeks. Remember the pottery class? Turns out the instructor was a married man named Devin Hart. Devin had a private Instagram account, but his wife didn't. I'd stumbled upon her weeks earlier when she posted a group photo at a farmer's market. My wife was in the background holding Devin's hand, both of them looking like they were on a romantic getaway. I printed that photo, enlarged it, high resolution. I carefully placed the letter, the screenshots, and the photo into a vivid red envelope, slipping it into her work bag before she returned home. She wouldn't discover it until the next day, but when she did, I wanted her pulse to race as mine had when I stumbled upon the letter in her drawer. This wasn't revenge, not yet. This was just the first fissure in the facade she had so meticulously built for herself. And once it crumbled, she'd finally see her true reflection. That morning, she said nothing, not while sipping her coffee, not while tying her shoes, not even as she brushed past me to grab her purse. The envelope peeked out, impossible to miss. Yet she didn't flinch, only muttered, "Don't wait up," as if gracing me with her presence under the same roof was some kind of favor. I watched the door click shut behind her, then glanced at the clock. I estimated an hour before she'd open it, but I was wrong. It took 36 minutes. At exactly 8:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text. "Did you go through my things?" My hands trembled before I even unlocked my screen. I stared at the message for 10 minutes, cycling through responses. I nearly typed, "Yes, and you deserve worse." I almost wrote, "Call Devin and cry about it." Instead, I settled on, "No, just return what I found." She didn't reply. The day dragged on like I was submerged, every sound muted, every second stretched thin. I checked my phone obsessively, anticipating confrontation, anger, anything, but silence. At 6:44 p.m., I heard her heels outside, then the key turning in the lock. She walked in as though the weight of her secrets hadn't crashed down on her hours earlier. Her face was calm, too calm, but her eyes betrayed her, a flicker of panic masked by feigned indifference. She didn't remove her coat or meet my gaze. Instead, she said, "We need to talk." I nodded, sitting down. She stood across the room, keeping distance as though I carried a disease. With the audacity only the guilty possess, she began, "You're invading my privacy." I couldn't believe it. No denial, no attempt to refute the affair. Just anger that I'd uncovered the truth. I steadied my voice. "I didn't plant the letter in your drawer. You did. I didn't send those texts or call him. You did. I simply found what you left behind." Arms crossed, she shot back. "That wasn't recent. That was months ago." "Then why did he answer your call 2 days ago?" I countered. She froze, lips parting briefly before realizing I'd cornered her. She knew I had more than the letter. I had the logs, the photo, everything. Still, she tried lying. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed, a sharp, bitter laugh. "Good," I said, "because what it looks like is repulsive." Then she shifted gears, sitting down, softening her tone. I felt completely lost. You stopped seeing me. The blame shifted, subtle but inescapable. I stood there as you handed me divorce papers the same day you said, "Let's take a break." Except I didn't realize they were invisible then. She didn't cry or scream. She just sat there, quiet, empty. I walked upstairs. She didn't follow. That silence spoke louder than any words she could have forced. I expected her to leave once she was caught. I imagined drama, her storming out, slamming doors, tears streaming, maybe even a parting insult. But no, she stayed, not for one night, but days. She used the same bathroom, ate from the same plates, folded laundry like nothing had changed. Like we were just another couple navigating a rough patch. But it wasn't a rough patch, it was ruins. And she acted as though the foundation hadn't already collapsed beneath us. Our silences grew sharp, not heavy, not sad, sharp like glass waiting to cut. I avoided the kitchen when she was there, left rooms when she entered. Uninvited, she started sleeping in the guest room. I didn't ask her to. She simply moved, as if this were the next logical step in her twisted way of coping. But the worst part? She began being kind, offering coffee, complimenting my shirt, volunteering to shop for groceries, as though the silent screaming of the night I confronted her never happened. Was it guilt, fear, or arrogance? Whatever it was, she seemed to think we could slide back into normalcy. Meanwhile, I couldn't shake the image from my mind, her hand in his, their bodies close, drawn together like magnets forgetting repulsion. I'd memorized every detail, the stray hairs across her face, the freedom in her smile. Freedom with someone else. On the 5th night of her strange kindness, I found myself at the guest room door. It was open. She lay there, laughing softly at something on her phone. A real laugh, genuine. Something I hadn't heard in over a year. I watched her, feeling like she was a stranger wearing my wife's skin. She noticed me and sat up. "Milton, we need to talk." I didn't move. "We talked," I said flatly. "No," she replied gently, like handling something breakable. "You talked. I didn't explain." I laughed bitterly. "You don't need to explain cheating, Laura." "It's not rocket science." She stood, took a step closer. "It wasn't about you. It wasn't that I stopped loving you." "Then what was it?" I snapped. "A hobby? Something to fill time between pottery classes and wrecking your husband?" Her lip quivered, and for a moment I saw the fracture in her carefully constructed facade. "I didn't know how to say it," she whispered. "I didn't yell or throw things. I just looked at her and said, 'So, you told someone else with your actions.'" She didn't deny it. She sat back on the edge of the bed, defeated. That's when I realized she wouldn't leave unless I forced her to. And tomorrow, I decided, I'd make sure she had nowhere left to hide. The next morning, I called in sick. I didn't tell her. Let her think I'd already left for work. I even closed the door behind me, standing silently in the garage for 10 minutes before slipping back inside. She never heard me. She was in the shower, singing softly. I stood outside the bathroom door, staring at the handle, wondering how many times she'd sung that melody after seeing him. I hated that I still recognized her voice. Hated that my first reaction wasn't anger, it was heartbreak. When she finally left for her job, a marketing agency she used to talk about proudly, but now used as an excuse for everything, I waited 5 minutes, then went straight to the guest room and opened her laptop. I hadn't planned to snoop, not until that moment. But something about the calm in her eyes lately felt deliberate, like she wasn't trying to fix anything, she was just waiting me out. And that made me want to uncover what else she might be hiding. The laptop was open, no password. Maybe she thought I was too broken to look, or maybe she didn't care anymore. At first glance, it seemed normal. Work folders, a few recipes, a playlist called Night Drives. Then I noticed a folder tucked into the corner of her desktop. It was labeled Sparrow. She'd never mentioned sparrows. I clicked it. Inside were videos, 4 of them, all dated within the past 6 months. My hands trembled so badly I had to brace myself against the desk. I opened the most recent file. A cheap motel room appeared, dim lighting. Her laugh filled the screen, clear, familiar. She held the phone selfie style and turned the camera toward him. Shirtless, grinning, he waved. "Say hi," she whispered in the video. "Hi, Alora's future," he said with a wink. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen flashed white. My heart raced, my mouth went dry. I knew she'd cheated, knew she'd lied. But watching her smile like that, with someone else, and knowing she'd recorded it, saved it, named it, it broke something inside me that I don't think was ever meant to heal. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just stood there, numb. Then I packed a bag. Not hers, mine. A hoodie, a change of clothes, my charger, the red envelope holding the evidence I'd gathered, and a note. Just one sentence written in thick black marker. "I hope he's enough." I left it on the bed she now claimed as hers. Walked out, locked the door behind me, and dropped the key into the mailbox slot. But I didn't go far. Not yet. I had one final task before I vanished. I needed to speak with his wife, because if anyone deserved the truth, it was her. I didn't expect her to open the door. There I stood, gripping a plain manila envelope, my palms sweaty, knees trembling. I hadn't planned what to say. All I had was the evidence. Photos, a letter, screenshots. She deserved the truth, even if I couldn't voice it. When she opened the door, Cambria didn't seem surprised. A baby rested on her hip, toys scattered around, and the air smelled of cinnamon and diapers. "Milton?" she asked calmly. I froze. "You're not the first," she said, nodding at the envelope. I handed it over. Unfazed, she opened it right there, flipping through slowly. Then she exhaled, not in pain, but as if freed. "I've been waiting for a reason to leave," she whispered. "Thank you." Stunned, I watched as she handed me a business card, an address, a date. "Next weekend, a gallery. Come. For you." Confused, I left. The week passed in anger and numbness. I tossed her tea, the cinnamon scent lingering like mockery. On the night of the gallery, I almost didn't go, but did anyway, wearing the jacket from our anniversary dinner years ago. The space was intimate, warm, filled with abstract art and soft music. In the back room, an exhibit titled "Letters Never Sent" caught my eye. One frame held a familiar pink page, her handwriting. Beneath it, a typed note read, "This letter broke a man and helped another find himself." Cambria found me by the water table, sipping wine silently as we watched strangers admire the display. That night didn't heal me, but something began, a quiet start. 2 weeks later, I moved out, filed for divorce without drama. She didn't contest. I adopted a dog, named her Sparrow. Some nights I think about the woman who smiled when truth arrived at her door and gave me mine back. Now, share which moment from this story left the biggest impression on you. Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating real-life stories.